On Friday, we at BNN were excited to learn that we'd be joined tonight by none other than Boston Mayor Thomas Menino. And then 2 hours ago, we had even more news, that the mayor finally watched one of our shows and, according to a spokesman, resented that during previous broadcasts, BNN had suggested that he had a speech impediment. Or he said something about beach readiness. The spokesman wasn't 100% sure himself. The result, however, is that the mayor will not be joining us. Rather than scrap a segment that we had already dedicated many minutes to researching, we've decided to ask the same questions of some appropriate stand-ins. They join us now from a boat. Good evening. Good evening, Mayors Menino. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Howdy.
Good evening.
Thank you. So here's your first question, which I should...
We're the mayor.
Yes. This is the first question, which I'd like to remind the audience was written yesterday. Mayor Menino, thanks so much for coming in. Your mouth looks much drier in person. One issue concerning many Bostonians has to do with transportation, especially considering a budget shortfall at the MBTA. How does the city plan on improving the level of service on both the streets and the subway?
I think everybody ought to own a truck. Like a Ford F-150. Those are good trucks.
I like Jim Plunkett still.
Well, that was a no-brainer. You were an outspoken supporter, Mr. Mayors, of moving City Hall from downtown to the waterfront in South Boston and building a tower that would ostensibly be named after you. What happened to those plans?
There's not a trailer bed big enough.
To move it. I like tall things.
And trailer bed should be big enough to move something if you plan on moving it.
Right.
Otherwise, how are you going to move it? Otherwise,
Right.
You ought to build a train.
Clearly, the mayor is remembering speeches he made in the past. I think we've all heard that answer before. Mr. Mayor, finally, you're obviously a huge Celtics fan. Any words for the Chicago fans who are visiting Boston for the playoffs this week?
Watch out.
Thank you for this being the final question.
Thank you for answering this final question.
I like Jim Plunkett still.
Once again, the reason why this man is running unopposed almost.
People on the East Coast steal things.
Good night.
Yep, can't wait till they build that tower. Thank you!
Build a train.
Mayors.
Build a train.